Hello, no candles, no smoke and mirrors tonight, or today actually, daytime. I got a day off. Feeling a little better. Did a beer review last night and I was really not feeling well with a head cold and having worked an extremely long, hard day. But I did a beer review anyway. And now, I have wanted to tell this story, actually, and it's two stories. And they're not things that happened to me, they're things that happened to people I knew, ghost stories. No, I'm not running out of material. I've got things going on in my life right now, paranormal, I just don't care to talk about at this time. But I like to hear other people's stories, actually. Some of the creepiest stories I've ever heard are from other people, and here are two of them. And this is very... The first one is probably the scariest, sad, tragic ghost story I've ever heard happen to anybody. And back when I was 19 or 20 years old, I was newly married, had my daughter, my wife and I had a baby, my daughter Ann, and I was working at a factory doing assembly work. There'd be a long tables with a whole bunch of people sitting on both sides of the table assembling things, just sitting there, and we'd talk, while we're working. We'd have our coffee, and I think that still goes on all over the world. All day long, you're doing the same job, just assembling little parts for things. And there was this guy, he was older than me. That's to say, he was about maybe 27, 28. And I used to talk to him. I thought he was pretty cool. I remember him, he was a white guy. They were pretty much all white then, and he had long hair, beard. Pretty clean guy, newly married, and I don't think he did a lot of partying or drugs or anything. I got the impression that he was a very dedicated family man and a Christian. That's the impression I got talking to him. I still remember this. And he was really excited. He and his wife were going to have their first child, and the baby was born, and he was pretty excited about that. And then suddenly I didn't see him for like 2 weeks. I didn't know him well enough to know where he lived. I didn't have his phone number. We just visited at work, and somebody said their baby died suddenly, which was horrible news. Horrible, because he was so overjoyed to have this baby. I mean, this guy was on top of the world, and I could understand it because I had a little baby girl then at the time. I still do. And hello, Puka Bear. So I know how it feels, to be a new parent. And I didn't see him for 2 or 3 weeks. He was out for a while, and I figured he wasn't coming back for whatever reason. Then one day he came back, and he wasn't the same person, obviously. He was very depressed. He didn't talk much. And, I remember, I don't know what I said, but I talked to him pretty much, told him how sorry I was about the news, and just tried to be there for him, quietly, because the guy was pretty battered emotionally. He was just quiet. He'd go through his work day and he wouldn't talk, much at all. And then he came in one day. This is about maybe a week later. He came into work one Monday, and he was no longer quiet and downcast. He was out of his mind, on the border of insanity. He was really out of it. I mean, he was, I don't know what you call it. He was terrified. And I asked him what's going on, and he talked to me. He talked to me privately when we had some time. And this is what he told me. This is pretty creepy, and it's very sad. He said he and his wife had the baby, was cremated. They had the urn. They didn't know what to do with the ashes, They had him in their bedroom, And then they moved him to the living room. They weren't sure what to do with the ashes. And he said just the sight of the ashes made them sad. They weren't sure where to bury them or what to do. So they took the ashes, and they had an old van. This is like 1980-ish. They had an old van parked in their backyard, broke down in their backyard that hadn't been on the road for quite a while. Just sitting out there rusting, pretty much, I got the impression. He said so they agreed they put the ashes out in the van until they decided where they were going to bury them, funeral. And he said every night they both, he and his wife, heard a baby crying from the van. Every single night they both heard it. Both of them will be woken up to hear a baby crying from the van behind their house at nighttime. It gives me chills just to talk about it. And he said he didn't know what to do. He was out of his mind. And all I can tell you is he told me that story that day at work, just to me, and I never saw him again. He didn't come back to work the next day. I never saw him again, ever. I don't know what happened to him. End of story. The second story that I thought was very tragic, somebody I knew very well indeed, told me a story. Well, actually, this person's friend told me to ask her about, the little boy on the stairs in their house. And I said, all right. I didn't know this person to tell ghost stories. I wasn't even sure if they believed in ghosts. They were very honest, very, very, very honest, simple kind of person. An old girlfriend, a long time ago. So I said, tell me about the boy on the stairs. She says, all right. And this was an old house in upstate New York, really old house. Her friend Tammy lived there with her husband and their children. And they were very close friends. So Candy was her name, my girlfriend. She said that there would be a boy ghost in a sailor suit sitting on the stairs in Tammy's house, looking kind of glum, just sitting there like this. And I said, what would you do? And she said she'd go up and sit down next to him and they'd talk. Right? She said he wasn't a threat. There was no problem. She'd sit down and talk to him. And, that sounds pretty far-fetched, but coming from this person, Candy, there's no way she made this up. It would just be completely out of her character to make this story up. And her friend told me it was true. Her friend, Tammy, as I recall. We were all good friends, all of us, a long time ago. And I said, well, what would he tell you? And I don't remember everything she said, but they would talk. And he said that he used to live there around 1905. And his father killed his wife, his mother. The father killed the wife and killed his two children, the ghost boy being one of them. And then he killed himself. He killed them all. He said he killed them in the kitchen in that house. And there's no way she would make this up. That's all I can tell you. And she said the boy told her, the ghost boy in the sailor suit, told her that he stayed there to watch after people because there was evil of his father, spirit, to come back to that house to haunt it. And that boy said he was there to protect people that lived there now and, at that time. And that's why he was there. He stayed there to watch over, protect people from that evilness, the evil spirit that I think was his father's spirit that murdered his wife and his two children with a knife. So there's two ghost story, creepy ones from other people. I would tell more ghost stories of my own, and maybe I will someday, but there's ongoing things in my life now. And I'm afraid if I talk about them much, it may encourage it. Otherwise it's not a problem. I'm not worried about it. But I don't want to invite it either. So So those are two stories I just thought I'd share because I've decided I'm going to try to make more videos, you know. I've got a long list of things I wanted to talk about, and I still do. And I'm not done with the forgiveness videos yet either, the series. I know precisely where I'm going with that, God willing. So yes, I like to hear other people's ghost stories, and yes, I believe them, even though they sound incredible. But I expect people to believe mine, so I believe theirs. You know, what type of adult, or even really what type of child, anybody, would make up an elaborate ghost story to tell somebody? Now, if I was trying to make money off this website, which I'm not, then maybe I'm making all this stuff up to make money. I'm not. I hardly get any views. Now, that doesn't bother me. It's all right. I'm still going to make these videos. If you see advertisements, or I say advertisement, I'm really old school. If you see advertisements on the beginning of my videos, I'm not the one putting them there. YouTube automatically puts advertisements on YouTube, on videos that you post. So they're not my choice, the videos. All right, that's it. I'm feeling a little better today. Have a good day.